WWE doesn't have a tag team division anymore. And no, I don't mean that in a dramatic clickbait way. I mean, if you actually look at the product right now, week to week, show to show, it's barely there. Yeah, the titles exist. And yes, there are technically teams on the roster, but when was the last time a tag team storyline actually felt important? Maybe as far back as WrestleMania 39? When was the last time a tag team match felt like it had to be on a premium live event? Maybe last year during SummerSlam? See, right now, tag team wrestling in WWE feels like background noise. Something that fills time on Raw or SmackDown until those same teams eventually break up and get pushed into singles runs. And that's really the problem. Tag teams in WWE don't feel like a destination anymore. Instead, they feel like a waiting room, a temporary phase before the real push starts, or before the team quietly disappears altogether. And over the past few years, we've seen it happen over and over and over again. Teams get thrown together with no direction, real tag teams struggle to get meaningful screen time, championships go missing from the biggest shows, and now, we're starting to see something even worse. Actual tag team wrestlers are leaving. Not because they can't perform, and not because they aren't talented, but because there's just no future in it. And that's when it stops being a coincidence and starts looking like a system. Because WWE didn't wake up one day and decide they want to lose their tag team division. They slowly stopped caring about it. Now, before we go any further, y'all know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I'd really appreciate it if you can help me get there. Now, without further ado, let's get back to the video. So let's actually start here, because technically WWE does have a tag team division. They've got championships, they've got teams, they've got matches almost every week, but none of that actually means the division is healthy. Because what WWE has right now isn't a real tag team division. It's the illusion of one. You'll see random guys team up for a few weeks. Maybe they even get a name, maybe they don't. Maybe they have a couple of matches, maybe even a short feud. And then they disappear or break up. There's no long-term direction, no identity, no reason to actually invest in these teams. And that's the biggest difference compared to what a tag team division is supposed to be. A real tag team division has defined teams, defined rivalries, and actual progression. Right now, WWE just has combinations. Different pieces swapped together in and out every week, like it doesn't really matter who's teaming up with who. And when that becomes the norm, the audience stops caring. Because why should they? Why invest in a team when WWE clearly hasn't? And it's clear as day, we literally see this right now with the WWE Tag Team Champions on SmackDown. They literally threw together a team of Damian Priest and R-Truth. And as much as I've liked what's been going on in the women's tag team division, we gotta call it like it is, they've done the same thing there too. It's just a bunch of main event stars teaming up, and while it has increased the importance of the women's tag titles, you have to really question, what happens when these stars eventually break up? Because a lot of these female stars are needed in other divisions, such as the women's world title scene and the women's US title scene. So if and when that happens, what is WWE gonna do? The thing is, they should have been building up actual tag teams while having these stars within the tag team division as well. But unfortunately, they really haven't done that. The women's tag team division literally revolves around these single stars. And then on Raw, they're using actual tag teams, but then when those teams win the title, it's almost like they disappear. The title just never gets defended until the next time that they want to switch titles. Which brings me to my next problem with the WWE tag team division, and that's the lack of PLE presence. Now, if you really want to understand how WWE views tag teams, Just look at the premium live events, because this is where things get really telling. Tag team championships are almost never featured in meaningful spots on PLEs anymore. For example, on the male side of things, the only times I've seen it featured in meaningful spots on a PLE is SummerSlam of last year and WrestleMania 39 when it was in the main event. That's crazy. The thing with the tag team championships is that sometimes they're not even defended at all. Sometimes they get thrown on a card with zero build, and when they are, they feel like filler. One match that comes to mind is the New Day versus the War Raiders at WrestleMania 41, which in all honesty seemed to be a glorified Monday Night Raw match, and it was only thrown on this card to promote Clash of Clans. A match at WrestleMania was only put on the card to promote Clash of Clans.
What?
Meanwhile, the thriving tag team division on SmackDown got left off of the card. And although I did get to see that ladder match in person on the SmackDown After Mania, it still doesn't change the fact that that match should have been on the WrestleMania card. It seems like tag team championships, or the division in itself, just aren't a priority in WWE anymore. Because WWE is very clear about what matters on their biggest shows. And right now, tag team wrestling is just not one of those things. And when the audience sees that consistently, they adjust. They stop viewing the tag titles as important. They stop viewing tag teams as stars because WWE doesn't treat it like that. But the thing is, even though they're not being featured as much, at least the tag team division had actual talent, right? Well, this is where things take a dark turn. Now, as we all know, WWE did their yearly releases, which is always sad to see, and there were some shocking names on that list. But did you notice a subtle pattern with who was released? Let's start with Tommaso Ciampa, who wasn't part of this recent wave of releases, but he did leave WWE in January of this year due to the fact that his contract had expired. And the thing is, even when he was in WWE, recently it just seemed like they didn't really want to feature him on TV as much. Now, why is this so important? Well, Tommaso Ciampa was a part of DIY. So not only did WWE lose a talented wrestler, not only did they underutilize him while he was on the roster, they lost somebody that was literally a part of the tag team. So now this has a trickle effect onto somebody like Johnny Gargano as well. Now let's get into the recent wave of releases, one of them being the Motor City Machine Guns. They of course were a legendary tag team that easily could have been utilized in the tag team division, but for whatever reason, WWE just refused to feature them. WWE literally just signed these guys in 2024, and less than 2 years later, they're already gone. Now, another team that was a part of this wave of releases was none other than the Wyatt Sicks. The entire group, gone. This is a team that literally had one of the best Raw debuts in 2024, and once again, just like Motor City Machine Guns, less than 2 years later, they're gone. So with this past wave of releases, 2 tag teams are gone, one of them being an actual faction as well. Now let's get into some other names that were not part of the wave of releases, but they are now gone from the company. Let's start with Tonga Loa and JC Mateo. 2 names that are tied to the MFTs, and now they're gone, so what's really gonna happen with the MFTs going forward? And the crazy thing is, JC Mateo just debuted in WWE just last year. But for whatever reason, they never built him up, never featured him in anything meaningful, and now all of a sudden, it's over. And then we probably have the most shocking news, which is that the New Day and WWE agreed to part ways. Now, this wasn't the WWE firing the New Day or something, but it was due to a contract dispute where WWE, or should I say TKO, wanted the New Day to restructure their deal, which more than likely meant that the New Day would probably be losing out on some money. Now that in and of itself is very disrespectful to one of the most historic tag teams in WWE history. And now because of this, we now lose out on yet another tag team in the division. Now you really gotta ask yourself, what does this mean for the current tag team champions on both brands? You have the Vision on Raw and R-Truth and Damian Priest on SmackDown. And now I'm wondering, who are they gonna feud with? You just gutted the tag team division and you already weren't featuring other tag teams to begin with. So what's really gonna happen? And that's why I call this a system problem. Because WWE, I'm sure, is very aware that they have tag team champions, but then they're gutting the division, a division that was already struggling. That just doesn't make any sense. Now all of this leads to a bigger issue. And that issue is that WWE doesn't build tag team stars anymore. At least not real ones. Not teams that feel like they matter beyond just filling time. Because think about it, what current WWE tag team feels like a must-watch act? And I don't just mean a good team, but a team that feels important every single week. In all honesty, it's hard to name one. Hell, even when the Usos had the tag team championships, they didn't feel as important because they weren't really featured every week. And instead, they were just woven into the CM Punk and Roman Reigns storyline. Now, I don't like seeing anybody lose their jobs, but if WWE was going to release some of the veteran talent that they had, then at least in the meantime, they should have been building up younger teams in order to boost this tag team division. But instead, they didn't do that. And that's simply because teams just aren't protected, they aren't prioritized, and teams aren't given long-term stories. So they never reach that next level. They never become essential to the show. They just exist. And when your tag team vision is full of teams that just exist, it stops being a division entirely. Now you might be asking yourself, how much does this truly matter in the grand scheme of things? Well, to me, it matters a lot more than people think. Because a strong tag team division does a few things that WWE is actually missing right now. It creates more stars and at a faster rate. And instead of building one person at a time, you're building multiple at once. It also adds variety to the show. Not every match needs to be singles. Not every story needs to revolve around one person. And most importantly, it gives the roster more depth. Because right now, everything feels a bit top heavy. And while they've been introducing some fresh new talent with call-ups from NXT, they've been mostly single stars. So right now, there's just a lack of balance. And a strong tag team division can help with that lack of balance. But WWE doesn't have that anymore. So everything feels thinner than it should be. Now, at the end of the day, this isn't about one bad storyline or one bad decision. This is years of patterns adding up. WWE didn't just lose their tag team division overnight. They instead forgot how to book it. They made choices over and over again. And that slowly pushed tag team wrestling further and further down the priority list. It's really amazing to me that the tag team titles were on the line in the main event of a WrestleMania just 3 years ago. But now, it barely feels like a division at all. And until that mindset changes, it doesn't matter how many teams they sign, it doesn't matter how many titles they introduce, nothing's really gonna change. Because right now, tag teams in WWE aren't being built. They're being cycled through. And eventually, they're being replaced. Now, I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let me know. Do you think this is truly the end for tag team wrestling in WWE? And what are your thoughts on the biggest problem with the tag team division right now? Also, I'm curious, do y'all have any ideas on how to fix the tag team division? Let me know in the comments. And of course, if you've made it this far and you've enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like and subscribing for more, as it really does help this channel grow. Also, if any of the videos on your screen pique your interest, go ahead and check them out, or check out any other videos on my channel. And of course, thank you for hanging with me in the Drafe Corner, and I'll see y'all in the next one.